It's like, let's choose between a half man, half biscuit and a piece of meat with eyes as who's going to lead the free world into the next decade. Nice. My name is Dean Haystack, the Dean, and you're listening to The Coffee Conversation. Ooh, doggy. It seems as though most people assume that the fight in America at the moment for the presidency has been between Joe Biden alone and Donald Trump alone. But it's certainly nowhere near that the fight that is raging in America is about. It's not about these two men. It's much, much greater. It's about the fight and the battle between a simple democracy against a republic, which is a constitutional democracy. And I'll explain the difference between the two in a moment. But first I want to say that how is it that America, with close on 400 million people, with enormous amounts of gift and talent demonstrated in industry, in Hollywood, in music, in manufacturing, in designing of products, in marketing, in all these spheres of academia, there are some brilliant people in South Africa, and the best two candidates that they could come up with to represent the people and the free world is Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It's like, let's choose between a half man, half biscuit and a piece of meat with eyes as who's going to lead the free world into the next decade. Nice. Brilliant. Could you not find anybody better? America, I think you should start actually considering what many people have been saying for the last 30 or 40 years, is that there's something wrong with your minds. You're not nearly as wonderful as you think you are, and you better buck up. Otherwise, you're going to lose out on what was once potentially a great country. And unfortunately now for the rest of us, that means that maybe we're going to get into a little bit of trouble as well, because America is the world superpower. They are the biggest economy, they have got the biggest military, they do set the trend, and at the moment, and this is what's getting my goat, is that the Democrats are trying to erode that, and let me explain why. First, the difference between a republic and a democracy. A republic is a democracy, but it is grounded on the Constitution, which establishes the right of the individual as sovereign. The group can never take a decision that overshadows the right of the individual. That's a republic. It's a democracy based on a constitution that recognizes the individual as sovereign and protects those rights. You are the right to live. You have the right to survive. You have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to say what you want freely and not be prosecuted by the extent of the law. And you protect those civil liberties. You are not allowed to do anything that takes away the rights of anybody who is alive just because the group thinks it's a good idea. And the Democrats are eroding that because they want to get rid of aspects of the Constitution. The two that they are attacking the hardest is, number one, the right to free speech. They want to now dictate that there is a certain thing called hate speech, which they will determine what is hate speech, and anybody who speaks against hate speech, in other words, anyone who doesn't like them, they have the right to prosecute them in law. In many other free countries in the world, we see this happening now, and it's tyranny that's taking place when a guy can stand outside a courthouse to report on 7 people who raped a woman, and just because he was reporting and it was a political issue, they arrested him and they threw him in jail. In South Africa, a guy put out a video to say, please be careful, do not take the tests because they might be contaminated. Please wait until they've tested the tests, and he was arrested and thrown into jail because of what he said. And if we aren't allowed to say what we want to say without the fear of prosecution, how do we maintain our freedom? The second thing that they want to get rid of is the right to carry arms. They say, no, we don't want to affect the right to people to carry arms. We only want to deal with these weapons. All the weapons that they talk about already are illegal, and they're using it as the guise to disarm the legal population in America when there's no ways to control the illegal population of America with guns. Similar in South Africa, where you struggle to find a firearm if you are a legal citizen, but if you are a criminal, you can get it anywhere, anytime, and at half the price. They want to take away your right to defend yourself and the right to free speech are the first two. So if you're a Democrat, I just want to say this. Donald Trump, Joe Biden, I don't care who's up there. I would not vote for the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is saying no more borders. The Democratic Party is saying free choice. Babies aren't alive until they're born, and they're even starting to say that maybe even once they're born, they can't be considered as alive because they don't yet have a proper thought process. So that's how they get around the idea of the constitutional democracy, which says that you have to respect life. They say, well, a baby isn't actually alive. I don't like that. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be abortions. I'm saying there shouldn't be abortions on demand, and we certainly shouldn't say that babies are not alive until they're born and maybe even a few months after they're born. That is evil and wicked. The quickening happens as soon as the sperm and the egg join. The quickening happens and there becomes what is called a quickening, and it looks like a pulse. That pulse becomes the heartbeat. That heartbeat starts generating the blood, and we are told that life is in the blood. So as far as I'm concerned, life being in the blood, that baby's blood is different. The first thing we can say is that as soon as there is blood, there is life, and the blood is neither the father's nor the mother's, it's the baby's unique. Can we maybe work out when that is and then start having the conversations reasonably? But no, the Democrats don't want to do that. They want to take away the freedoms of the individuals, and they're showing it deliberately. I will never vote Democrat in America because they don't want individuals to be freedom. They want the government to be in control. If we lose this battle, or if they lose that battle in America for the Republicans, it is going to be a backlash, because for the last 4 years they've been slowed down with what the rest of the world is doing. Because yes, half man, half biscuit has played a different game, and yes, he might be insane and all that stuff. Regardless of that, at least the Republicans respect human life as individuals, where the Democrats on their own clearly do not. If you now have a child, little Johnny thinks that he is a girl at the age of 6, and you are concerned and take that child to the doctor, the prescribed treatment is medication to reduce the hormones or increase the hormones until they're ready for surgery. It is no longer treated as a mental issue, a mental disorder or a mental issue. It is a physical issue that's described by the World Health Organization. Google it if you want. Where did you see that, Dean? Well, would you like a bib while I spoon food you fat? No, look it up yourself. But the World Health Organization declared it, and the Democratic Party supported it, that a boy and a girl do not exist. It's a social construct. And if your little girl decides she wants to be a boy or thinks that she might be a boy, the prescribed medical treatment through the Democrats is they take them to the doctor, they get hormone blockers or hormone enhancers and prepare them for surgery to remove their genitalia and replace it with the opposite sex. That is the prescribed treatment. That is child abuse. I'm not saying that if a person wants to transition, let them transition, but they're not allowed to go to the military until they're a certain age. They're not allowed to drink until they're a certain age. They're not allowed to gamble until they're a certain age. But at the age of 7, they can decide if they are a male or a female. And in actual fact, males and females don't exist anyway, according to that idiocy. Oh, you decide. And that's what the Democrats want. No guns, no free speech. Your children are not human, except for the fact that once they can start to think for themselves, and when they can, they are neither male nor female, and this is what they want to prescribe into law. They want social states. They don't want people to work for a living. They would prefer to give everybody a basic minimum wage. I don't necessarily have a basic minimum wage problem for a period of time to get people out the gutter, but not as a permanent situation. We cannot trust it because they've given everything else as a permanent situation. And if there's going to be a basic minimum wage for directors and shareholders and politicians, can we have a basic maximum wage as well? That you can't go over a certain amount, and all you bastards at the top who are making these decisions, you limit it as to how much you can earn, so us poor suckers down at the bottom and in the middle actually have a chance of getting a little bit more. No, won't go for that, because that's not a great idea, because we want to earn as much as we damn well can. This is not a war between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. This is a battle for freedom in the world. The rest of the world has slipped away from the idea of free speech already. People are getting arrested for what they're saying, including in South Africa, including in Europe, including in Canada, including in Britain, including in South America, definitely in Asia. They've been doing that for yonks, but they weren't considered part of the free world. It's happening in Australia and in New Zealand, that if you just go boo, and they say boo is a hateful word, boo-hoo, you go to jail. Nice. Who wants that? Well, if you want that, vote Democrat. Yeah, well, because we're such good people. What happens when you become the undesirable bad guy because you disagree with something that somebody says and you go to jail? I would prefer that all the morons, including myself, are free to say the stupid stuff that we want to say, because at least you can identify where we are, who we are, and you can clamp down on us. You know, when somebody says something really stupid and they're in business, for example, they lose a lot of credibility even in business. You don't have to send the police there, lock them up, throw them into jail, give them hefty fines, pay 150,000 Rand fines to the Human Rights Commission for saying something ridiculous, and then give them a 2-year suspended sentence or throw them in jail for 3 years. Their lives are pretty much ruined by saying something stupid, because most people don't like stupidity. But no, now we got to enforce it down the barrel of a gun. Thanks government control, thanks utilitarian rule, thank you tyranny. And guys, this is the battle that's happening. So for me, I would have preferred and think it might still happen, because somehow this half man, half biscuit, is that what I called him? Yeah, half man, half biscuit, seems to be able to get himself out of a corner, kind of like Muhammad Ali. Yes, when you think he's down, he throws a sucker punch from somewhere else. So I got a feeling that this ain't over. Maybe it is. And either way, I think it's going to be a disaster, because how can you put the free world on two candidates deemed to be the best possible candidates for the position of the President of the United States, who, in my opinion, are at least only mediocre? My name is Dean Haystack, and I'm just a guy who gives a damn. I've been told that I need to remind everybody to like or subscribe or hit the little bell thingy. Don't know what the little bell thingy is, but hit the little bell thingy. That's apparently the YouTube thing to do.